Top accolade global news update. I am Bifa Jackridge. China's population fell for a second consecutive year in 2023 as a record low birth rate and a wave of COVID-19 deaths when strict lockdowns accelerated a downturn that will have profound long-term effect on the economy's growth potential. The National Bureau of Statistics said the total number of people in China dropped by 2.8 million or 0.15% to 1.409 billion in 2023. That was well above the population decline of 850,000 in 2022, which had been the first since 1961 during the Great Famine of the Mao Zedong era. China experienced a dramatic nationwide COVID surge earlier last year after 3 years of tight screening and quarantine measures kept the virus largely contained until authorities abruptly lifted curbs in December 2022. Total deaths last year rose 6.6% to 11.1 million, with the death rate reaching the highest level since 1974 during the Cultural Revolutions. New births fell 5.7% to 9.2 million, and the birth rate was a record low 6.39 births per 1,000 people, down from a rate of 6.77 births in 2022. Births in the country have been plummeting for decades as a result of the one-child policy implemented from 1980 to 2015 and its rapid urbanization during that period. As with earlier economic booms in Japan and South Korea, large populations moved from China's rural farms into cities where having children is more expensive. Japan's birth rate was 6.3 per 1,000 people in 2022, while South Korea's rate was 4.9. The fresh data adds to concerns that the world's number 2 economy's growth prospects are diminishing due to fewer workers and consumers, while the rising cost of elderly care and retirement benefits put more strains on indebted local governments. India surpassed China as the world's most populous nation last year, according to estimates by the United Nations, fueling more debate over the merits of relocating some China-based supply chains to other markets, especially as geopolitical tensions rise between Beijing and Washington. Long-term UN experts see China's population shrinking by 109 million by 2050, more than triple the decline of their previous forecast in 2019. China's population aged 60 and over 296.97 million in 2023, about 21.1% of its total population, up from 280.4 million in 2022. Japan Airlines opened new tab, named its first female president on Wednesday, a former cabin attendant who rose through the ranks to senior management, taking a deep symbolic step in a country struggling to close a vast gender gap at work. Mitsuko Totori, a senior managing executive officer who joined JAL in 1985, the year it suffered one of the worst crashes in airline history, will become president from April 1st, it said in a statement. The appointment comes as Japanese companies faces increasing pressure to boost gender diversity and tackle a gender pay gap that is the worst among the group of 7 nations and almost double the average of the OECD grouping of advanced economies. The change comes as the airline seeks to recover from the pandemic era downturn and tourists flock back to Japan. Airline safety is under a fresh spotlight after a collision between a JAL plane and a Japanese Coast Guard aircraft at Tokyo's Haneda Airport this month. All 379 people aboard the airliner escaped as it burst into flames. JAL has said Totori acquired a high level of insight and field experience in safety operations and service. The current president, Yuji Akasaka, will become chairperson while continuing to hold the representative director title. The airline said in a statement, opens new tab. Yoshiharu Ueki, the current chairman, will retire from his post in April and leave the director position upon shareholder approval in June. JAL has set itself a target for women to make up 30% of managers across the group by the end of fiscal year to March 2026. By the end of March 2023, the corresponding figures was 22.8%. Britain's annual rate of consumer price inflation rose for the first time in 10 months in December, increasing to 4.0% from a more than 2-year low 3.9% in November. Official figures unexpectedly showed on Wednesday. A rise in tobacco duty lay behind the increase, the ONS said. The data, which follows bigger than expected falls in inflation in recent months, potentially adding to concerns at the Bank of England, which raised interest rates to a 15-year high of 5.25% in August. The rise in Britain's inflation rate followed increases seen in the Eurozone and United States in December. Sterling rose against the US dollar after the decision, which may dampen financial markets' conviction that the BOE will start cutting interest rates in May this year. The central bank forecast in November that it will take until late 2025 to return inflation to its 2% target. But many economists now think this could happen as soon as April or May this year, due partly to a slide in wholesale. Surging gas prices following Russia's invasion of Ukraine pushed British inflation to a 41-year high of 11.1% in October 2022, adding significantly to existing inflation pressures from supply chain difficulties following the COVID-19 pandemic. Wednesday's figures showed that core inflation, which excludes volatile food, energy, alcohol, and tobacco prices, was 5.1% in December, the same rate as November. Services inflation increased to 6.4% in December from 6.3% in November. The BOE looks at both core CPI and services inflation as a better guide to underlying prices pressure in the economy, especially those caused by rapid wage growth. Figures on Tuesday showed average weekly earnings, excluding bonuses, rose by an annual 6.6% in the 3 months to the end of November, the slowest increase in nearly a year, but roughly double the BOE views as consistent with getting inflation back sustainably to 2%. Remote driving startup Yay said on Wednesday it had launched its first commercial service in Las Vegas, where a teledriver or remote driver delivers electric short-term rental cars to customers, then collects them after the rental. The service is currently available around the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and the city's Arts District, renting out cars by the minute. Unlike autonomous vehicles, it relies on a remote human driver. CEO Thomas von der Ohe said that during the first quarter, Yay's vehicle fleet should number in the low double digits. Yay has so far raised about $110 million from investors, including Sweden's Kinnevik, Open's New Tab, Couture, and Francis Eurasio. Open's New Tab and has conducted tests on European and US roads with remote drivers and no one behind the wheel. Over time, the startup will gradually introduce autonomous features as it learns from the cameras, including on its vehicles, that are much cheaper than the LiDAR and radar technology used by most autonomous vehicle developer, von der Ohe said. But von der Ohe said the startup sees a massive use case for remote driving functions and is talking to automakers about including functions for remote valet and other services. Yay's launch comes at a challenging time for autonomous vehicle developer General Motors. Open New Tab Cruise autonomous vehicle unit has struggled in the face of regulatory scrutiny after an October accident in which a San Francisco woman was dragged by a car. Pakistan said neighboring Iran has violated its airspace, resulting in the death of 2 children, hours after Iranian state media said missiles targeted 2 bases of militant group Jaish al-Adl on Tuesday. Islamabad warned that the incident could have serious consequences and was completely unacceptable. In a statement released by Pakistan's Foreign Office spokesperson in the early hours of Wednesday, Iran's foreign minister was not immediately available for comment. On Monday, Iran elite Revolutionary Guards attacked targets in Iraq and Syria with missiles. Jaish al-Adl has previously mounted attacks on Iranian security forces in the border area with Pakistan. Iran's non-news, affiliated with the country's top security body, said the attacked bases were in Pakistan's Balochistan province. Pakistan's statement did not mention the location of the incident nor the nature of the airspace violation, but said it had lodged a protest with Tehran Iran and the head of Iranian mission in Islamabad and had been called to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The Pakistani military's public relations wing did not immediately respond to a request for comments. That is the size of top accolade global news update. You can follow us on our social media platforms as displayed on your screen. Happy Wednesday.